Today I'm going to present the WHS legislation, organization policy, and procedure. So just to introduce myself, my name is Clement Tremblin. I'm in Certificate for Business, and today I have to do a presentation for my assessment. The purpose of this one is to show a short video and train and educate the staff about the WHS responsibility and rules. So this presentation will be structured in 4 parts mainly. The first one will be the Occupational Health and Safety Act 1984. The second will be the regulation 1996. The third part will be the code of practice relevant to city source. And finally, the organizational policy, procedures and program for hazard reporting and staff responsibilities. So I will start by the Occupational Health and Safety Act 1984. The Occupational Health and Safety Act places the duty of care for safety, health within the workplace. It is an emphasis in prevention of accident, injuries, hazard, or harm in the workplace. The OHS Act 1984 and the regulation I will talk later taken place in Western Australia and act by the Code of Practice and Australian standards. So I will explain some key provision of this act. So first, the overview of the employee responsibilities. So I take from the act itself. So I summarize here one of the main key points. So the employee must have to ensure that the safety and the health at work, avoid the safety and health for any person from any act or omission, report injuries, hazard to employers, and incorporate with employers' agreements something to take place in order to provide safety and health in the workplace. The other part is mainly the employer responsibilities. So the employer responsibility will be to maintain the workplace safe, implement a system for workers to make sure that employees or workers are not exposed to hazard, to provide staff training, consultation with employee, and safety health representative in case of reported hazard. We might also provide personal protection equipment, PPE, and inform workers of the hazard risk of the job. Now the safety and health representative and committee. So mainly it is just a consultation relevant to any election of workers and employee. The function of safety and health representative will be to inspect the workplace, to keep informed about the safety and health information provided by the employer, and report any potential hazard that employees are facing. So this is the 5 main ideas about the workplace consultation process. So the first will be to identify the hazard, assess the risk, and implement control on the risk. After that, organize the workplace and facilities, manage the workplace by making relevant sure that we are not facing other hazard. The fourth will be to determine the WHS procedure and consultation, and finally monitor the workplace condition. Here is nothing really new. The resolution of the workplace issue will be conducted by the Safety and Health representative, the Safety and Health committee, and also the employee. What about the training? The training is the main part of the WHS responsibility. So here we might provide and maintain a workplace environment safe so people are not exposed to any hazard, provide instruction, training, and supervision to performance, the work, and in spite of any hazard. The training might include the use of PPE, which is personal and protective equipment, cleaning and maintenance, then transportation, and also the handling process, storage and disposal of hazard substances. Let's move on to the Occupational Health and Safety Regulation 1996. So the Occupational Health and Safety Regulation will cover the control of activity, such as hazard process, the construction of work, and the certification. The obligation for all of workplace in terms of risk management and consultation will be include also the administration of licensing, permit and notifications, and also the common hazard in the workplace. So first one is the hazard identification, which is a policy 037 risk management procedure in city laws. So the policy taken place should be composed by appropriate documentation, which is the risk and hazard form, the use of risk management plan, the training procedure, and after that the plan of integration. So the plan is mainly structured with 4 parts. The first will be the structure process, the second the communication, the consultation, and after that the monitor and review the risk. So the evacuation procedure, which is one of other policy in city store, the policy 041 emergency plus evacuation procedures. So this might the purpose will cease all activity and secure personal valuable. So on hearing the alarm, you have to move in orderly fashion to the nearest exit door. Do not use the lift. So to contact, you have to contact the emergency department, the 000, or to contact the city store security with this number. The work safe space will cover the physical work environment, lighting and ventilation. So it might provide a facility for workers, such as washing and dining area. This will be to remote and isolate hazard from the work, develop an emergency plan in case of hazard reporting. The first head is the policy 023, the first head policy. So this is mainly to the identification of the time of work being carried out, the hazard at the workplace, the size and the location of the workplace, and the composition at the workplace. So the first head policy things to know is really that employee must have to access to the first equipment and facilities, include the free access to emergency service and the first aid kit. The trained first aid, which is nationally recognized statement and from any training organization, and also regular train in order to update their knowledge and skill. The fall prevention, which is this one part of the WHS, OHS regulation. So the person in control of business or undertaking, the PCBU, the WHS outlined the obligation of managing the risk of fall and industry. The responsibility will be to minimize the risk of injury or harm to a person who fall from one level at the workplace, to work on the hierarchy of control, which is elimination, engineering, administration, PPE, whatever, identification of hazard and assess the risk and control, and after that, to use adequate protection to reduce the risk of falls. So the hazardous substances. So the policy is the 0 to 5 hazardous substances. So here we have different sort of substances such as acid, pesticide, petroleum product, and disinfectant. So the purpose will be to Okay, the purpose is to ensure all efforts are made to eliminate, substitute, or even reduce the exposure of hazardous substances in the workplace. Staff responsibility will be to wear personal protective equipment, to participate to training program on hazardous substances, to inform and report the hazard, day-to-day analysis of hazard substances in the workplace. So we might provide also signage, which is to clarify the location of the hazardous substances at work area. And also the accident and incident must be reported to the HR. Let's move on to the code of practice relevant to city laws. So the first one will be the prevention of falls in the workplace. So they have some general duties of the code. So the employer must have to provide a workplace safe system of work, provide training and supervision at the work, consult and cooperate with other HS representative, and provide PPE. There is 3 types of falls, which is the first one will be falls in single levels, which is just slips and falls. The other one is falls at a lower level from mezzanine or a top of vehicle. And the last one is swing fall, which is work at high level. So the prevention of falls training would be to might provide the emergency rescue procedures, the hazard and incident accident reporting systems, the safe work system and practice to prevent the falls, and also maintaining record keeping procedures and systems. Violence, aggression, and bullying. So is part of the code of practice. So the code of practice covered the people who are exposed to various forms of workplace violence. So to deal with the violence and aggression is mainly the physical and psychological assaults at work. To deal with bullying at work can be defined as a repeated and inappropriate behavior directed to the workers or a group of workers. So the code of practice developed a prevention strategy and responding to any accident. So the emergency procedure. So the management of an incident that results in a workplace violence should be of the system to deal with emergency of all kind. So the planning aim to reduce the level of risk, control and assist any incident in order to reduce the impact on the workplace, provide information on emergency procedures, and provide induction and training in the emergency procedures. Working hours. So starting at this point for workplace risk, we manage process to address issue related to working hours. The factor fatigue is certainly the main factor, but not the only one. So the working arrangement may include the physical and mental performances, the symptom of work related to stress, and the increase of the exposure of hazard. So the risk management, the working hours is relevant to the risk management guideline, which is mainly used by industry. For example, it includes fatigue management for commercial vehicle driver. So here we have different parts. The step 1 would be the identification, the risk assessment, and after that the risk control. So this is an example of the risk management guideline. What does it look like? So yeah, every worker should have to implement their the amount of work they do and to manage the risk. Control of the workplace hazardous substances. So it takes part of the employee's duty to control workplace hazardous substances. So it must be referred on the safety data sheet where the substances, with whom, the storage, and the substances after use. So it's a classic scheme. So we have to identify the risk assessment, which is used by hierarchy of control, to control with PPE equipment, the incidents reporting, which is part of the emergency procedures, and after that, control and monitor the workplace effectiveness. So let's move on to the manual task. So this is the main form for the hazard identification. So the employee should have to fill up this form in any hazard. So the manual task code provides general guidance for employers and workers assessment and control of the HS hazard risk. So it's a repetitive movement and equipment and tools that workers are exposed. So the benefit of this code will be to prevent injury, illness of individual in the workplace, to improve business performances, efficiency and productivity, the retention of skilled workers, and also a safe space with a positive safety culture. There is some direct and indirect factors. So the action and posture, the direct one will be the action and posture, including the awkward posture and repetitive movement. And the indirect will be the working environment, the system of work, and the organizational practices. So let's move on to the last part, which is the hazard reporting and staff responsibilities. So mainly is the same cycle, which is we start from identification of the hazard, we move to assess the risk, to control the risk, which is implement methods, how managing that, providing training and information for staff, and also monitor the control. It's a kind of catch-22, which is repeat all the time. So staff responsibilities. So you have to contact the first head officer of the emergency department. Fill up the hazard and incident form, which is this one. We use the matrix to assess the risk, which is if it's a first priority, a second. We control the workplace by implementing short-term or long-term action, which is here, and we report that document to the employer, and we consult with WHS representatives. So during 3 weeks, I've done that in my where I used to live. So the first week, I identified the first hazard was overplug cable in front of the heater. So it's a fire hazard, which I put in the wiki group. The second was the iron on the iron board. And the last one was the desk messy, not clean and not organized. So thank you for this time. I present today my assessment for WHS, and thank you so much.